You have to come beneath yourself.
Top of mind for me is returning to the fundamentals. The first time I knocked on the homie's door and he didn't answer and he couldn't let me in to go record and finish my track, oh yeah, it's a wrap.
You're going to need your quarterback, your running back, your receivers, your O-line. You're going to need everybody working as a complete function together to bring it to whatever that real vision is.
For me, the first moment that I could not record a song and express myself, I love this craft so much, I was doing all the research that I could to figure out the process in which how I need to do so.
Stay on this side of the fence. Don't dabble on this fence. That's what a real business is.
But it was like,
welcome back to episode 4 of Building Side by Side.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
Christian.
Frank Judah.
Yes, sir. We're back here in the lab. Arc set once again. Just like episode 3.
Yep.
We got a booking after this here in the ARC set. And so just wanted to use up this studio while we have it all set up and prepared.
Yes, sir.
Don't got to rearrange things, keep it streamlined.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. But it's been a good 2 weeks.
Yep.
1 week from the drop, because we're going to be dropping episode 3.
Yep.
But it's been 2 weeks since we've actually recorded.
Yep.
And so a lot has changed, a lot has shifted. A lot of events have transpired since then, or lack thereof, because you didn't make it to the Deadly Drops tournament. But we'll save that for later in the conversation.
Yep.
We had the MK Makers Network Brand Builders Mixer. We had the grand opening launch of the MK Lab 2.0, where we're at right now. Any other events that we're missing besides the Deadly Drops pickleball tournament that you missed?
I take full accountability. We did miss the tournament, and I think the two weeks of us, our goal, right?
Yeah.
Is to knock this out week to week, right? So that first week, I think, I wasn't able to make it for whatever reason. The second week, I ended up getting sick.
Yep.
Powered through it, got back. And so, yeah, those 2 weeks were pretty much on me. And then, we had the unexpected break in, right?
Oh, yeah.
We had that transpire in that whole mix. So
we're filming this episode right now.
Yeah.
With brand new cameras.
Yeah.
Since because the last episode was the day before the break-in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was leading up to the official launch, right? Which was something that we were just praying on. We just understood. It was so easy to see that the enemy was attacking at that moment, and it was hey, how are we responding? And so that's something that I think we'll get into, right?
Yeah.
But going from the launch, I don't think we missed any other events that took place. Man,
how was the launch for you? How did you enjoy that night?
I enjoyed it very much, bro.
Yeah.
Very much, because actually after reflecting,
you got to take the day off.
After reflecting a lot, I've realized how present I haven't been able to be in those sorts of moments. Right. In all different ways. You know what I mean? So it was just like to be present, to not be behind the camera and capturing and having to kind of bounce back and forth from different modes. I felt like it was right where God's calling me to be, and regardless of any pivots that I have to make, it's like, oh yeah, whenever I got to serve, I'm going to serve. But being able to lean into that and kind of my intuition was pulling me there, and then to be in that moment and have that experience to be like, okay, yeah, this is the alignment that I'm feeling. It was awesome, man. Connecting with people that just had great energy toward what they were doing, what they were trying. I saw a lot of people genuinely interested in what other people were doing, or genuinely interested in wanting to learn from another person. I sat down with business coach Ish, and I got to asking 10 to 15 questions, and just like the other people around me, we were just, you know, super engaged, you know, and so it was a really cool experience for me. What was it like for you, brother?
Man, it was unexpectedly better than I imagined. It wasn't too many people where it felt like I couldn't walk around, and that's what I thought it was leaning to, because we had like 125 people view the Eventbrite page, and then about 25-ish people showed up, about 30 over the course of the event, but 25 kind of stayed throughout the entire event. And I just felt like that was the right amount. It did make this space feel a lot bigger than I thought it was.
Okay.
You know, because when we did the marketing event, that was 25 people, but it felt so packed in there.
Yeah.
Maybe because the chairs and stuff like that were out or something. But yeah, it felt like the right amount of people, and the right people were in the room. Like, we had the San Diego County region manager that I really wanted to see, like, because we've been working on this Epicentre thing for the past 2 years, since we did the launch of the first lab. And I was trying to create some programming, you know, plant the seed in their mind, you know, of what we could bring to the Epicentre and, you know, be in partnership with them. And he didn't pull up to that grand opening. And maybe it was because it was still too early, you know. But now that Epicentre is fully constructed, they're just going through all of the commissioning. So just making sure that like all the contracted work is up to code and up to speed and everything like that. And then they're doing the grand opening in August, late August or first week of September. And so now he was able to show up to 2.0, which is a way better environment, I believe, in my perspective, at least when it comes to the programming that we want to bring to the Epicentre for these teens and for the community, right? Being able to see the different sets, the professional lighting, professional, you know, cameras, audio, etc. He fell in love with it, and he was like, hey, you know, you can skip the formalities on this. Like, just send over, you know, a rough proposal. And then when I come back from vacation in a couple weeks, we'll go walk the Epicentre before it opens up. And then, you know, we'll go from there. You know what I mean? So it's cool that he was able to do that, show up for that. And then also the Teen Council Advisory Board was there. So Michelle and Romel, they pulled up, and we're actually going to be hosting the first Teen Council meeting here.
Oh, wow.
Because they're going to be leveraging the Epicentre for their Teen Council meetings.
Give me some history on the Epicentre.
Yeah.
I know you've spoken on, you know, how big of a place that was for the community, you know, so just refresh.
Yeah. So being from Mira Mesa, like, everyone went to the Epicentre. It was originally designed from Romel, was one of the OG founders that was there that night. He was like able to pick the paint and stuff like that in the original building and whatnot. Wow. You know, like that type of OG.
What year was this?
That was 90 or 89. Yeah, something like that. 93. 93, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, 93.
Yeah.
I think is when they officially opened doors to the original Epicentre. And so it started off as a teen center. They were doing a bunch of events. And then towards the tail end, which is when I got to catch it, I was in high school, middle school, high school. They were doing a lot of concerts, and they were able to leverage it as a music venue. And so Tyga performed there. Wiz Khalifa performed there. Mac Miller performed there. Who else? Blink-182 performed there. I believe Maroon 5 performed there.
Wow.
So like a bunch of like actually big artists and bands and stuff like that came through to perform there. And a lot of like Mira Mesa, you know, underground hip hop type folks were there. Finesse built a career out of there. Decipher built a career out of there. And yeah, they would go to these writing workshops, you know, as rappers and stuff like that, or R&B artists. They just collab, and then they go write, and then they go, you know, you have the DJ, you have the breakers, you know, and they built a whole hip hop scene out of it towards the tail end, out of the Epicentre.
And then where did it go? Was there like a time where it was shut down? Or
yeah, it was gone for like 10 years, over 10 years. Yeah, abandoned building. City took it over.
Okay.
Couldn't get it back up.
Yeah.
Because it was a nonprofit that exited the contract with the city, Harmonium Group. And then, yeah, when they got out of that contract, because it just started to deteriorate, because people were just like drinking, smoking, getting, you know, all of that in the parking lot and whatnot. And you're right there on Mira Mesa Boulevard, like the main boulevard. Right?
Yeah.
And so people getting into fights and all that type of stuff is just bad for the community. At that point. It lost its original touch of what it was meant for. You know, you had all these out-of-towners coming in and causing trouble with, you know, the locals and stuff like that too. Wow. And so, yeah, they closed it down. City closed it down. County bought it out just a couple years ago. And so that's the spark of where we're at now. Yeah. They didn't completely destroy the original building. They kept a little bit of the bones. Basically rebuilt and reconstructed the entire building, though.
Wow.
Yeah.
Man, that's exciting,
bro.
Yeah.
And
a lot of history there. Yeah, what a full circle moment for you.
Super full circle, you know, being able to have been utilizing it at different points. Even when I was in breakdancing, you know, in like 7th grade and stuff like that, like we tried, you know, getting in there when we could.
Yeah.
And then here we are, like doing the music stuff, you know, all of the other things creatively.
Sure.
Yeah. And now that I have more of a business mind to me, you know, being raised up in my business acumen, like I can now go and approach the Epicentre with a different lens. Whereas like before, maybe a few years ago, you were to talk to me, it would be about, oh yeah, let's just get people activated in their gift, right? Like if you're a DJ, you're a DJ, let's go do this. If you're, you know, all of these different creative outlets that you have. But I really want to also press into workforce development
for sure
in this, you know, like let's really contribute and build contributors to our community. You know what I'm saying? So like, it's one thing to have the passion for it, and now let's go and multiply that seed and turn it into something that's fruitful for the community. Yeah. By creating jobs. Yeah. You know, creating real work, creating income with that gift that you have. Yeah. With that passion that you have. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. No, I think the exposure is huge. You know, just hearing your vision, talking about, you know, building a young media team, a media company, having these the youth thinking that way, right? And okay, hey, you know, you're playing your role here, my role's here, my role's here, you know, and now we've just formed a company. Now we're thinking a little bit different, right? Like, you know, that's something that when I think about my upbringing, if I was exposed maybe to a little bit more of both sides, not just the dreams and the limitless abilities that I have, right? Because I mean, Philippians 4:13 was my verse. 5 years old, like you know, I was running laps, playing football. You know, I can do all things through Christ that strengthens me, right? That gave me that ultimate confidence, that delusional sense of confidence. But that may be being mixed with being exposed to other things, you know, like some of just the practical elements, or like you know, getting certain things broken down, you know, detailed, and sometimes it's like simple connects for me, you know, that I'm like, I go back and I'm like, man, if this was kind of connected this way, you know, maybe I would have saved some time, you know. Yeah, I was a knucklehead too, but at the same time, it's like, all right, exposure is big, you know. So that's kind of what I see you talking about right now, and being able to be a part of that is huge, right? Like you bringing up that there's an opportunity for the music side, you know, especially with where I am now in the way that I that I approach things and the opportunities that I see to build workshops around the music, but understanding that we're also personally developing through this craft, you know, and having the awareness that I have now. And, you know, I planted that seed. I've been able to work with, you know, Cultural Arts Center, where I was able to like explore a little bit of my vision on like, man, what can I do? You know, how can I make an impact? Like I can, like you know, I'm seeing it different. I can, you know, I can get the logistics down and really refine this and make it, you know, intentional. You know what I'm saying? So,
and I think that's to your point of making it intentional. Really make it intentional and go pitch the program.
Yeah.
You know, this Epicenter is looking for people right now to create programs, volunteers, contractors, revenue splits. You can rent out the space and, you know, host your own events and stuff like that if you wanted to bring your own, you know, private programming and things like that. Like, there's an abundance of ways to stay connected, to pour into the community, you know, and I know that you come from more South San Diego communities and stuff like that, but right here, man, there's tons of kids that are looking to get poured into and develop their craft, especially in music. They Brandon did a poll at the high school at Mira Mesa High, because it's like literally right across the street from the high school. 65% of the poll in regards to programming was geared towards music. You know, these kids like really want to get involved in some form of music, whether it's orchestra, whether it's band, whether it's hip hop, you know, R&B, like music, you know what I'm saying? And so there's going to be opportunities for people like yourself that like really want to come in and create that change, you know, from 3 to 7, that's the teen time. And then from 10, they can open it as early as 8, but they're looking at 10 o'clock till about 3 o'clock is going to be like open to other, you know, people renting it out and whatnot.
For sure.
And then after 7 till about 8 or 10, open it up to like other events and stuff like that as well. So like bringing in maybe some of these local artists to come and perform and things like that. And talk about either revenue splits or contract work, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean? Yeah.
No, I love it. I've been seeing a lot of these little short form clips of these just really young kids, you know, that made songs and do stuff. I've been seeing those pop up on my feed recently.
Is it Rondo?
Like, man, I love it. I don't even know. I saw one kid, he was in front of the gas lamp sign. You know what I mean? And it's so funny because when I'm around there, I always kind of have a vision of just like, you know, little, right now it's all about the short form music videos, just quick clips that you can get. And then I just started seeing all these kind of kids pop up and, you know, and for me, dude, it's something that when I go back, being around my nieces, nephews, little brother, little sister, like I would always try to get them in the studio, you know what I mean? And I have old songs of like, you know, my little brother and him dancing to his own songs, me making little stuff like that. And, you know, it's definitely, I have a heart for it. So it's a cool vision, you know, to be talking about right now.
What brings you back to, like, what makes you gravitate towards like the youth and giving back to them and like laying that foundation for them? What's so important to you about that?
I think the clarity I didn't have as a young artist, right? Like growing up in that, like, is what drives me to want to give that and almost just save, you know, save someone some time, you know, potentially, right? Like there's an aspect, there's things that like I could only thank God for the fact that like, man, this was happening and I wasn't even aware of it. Imagine if I was aware of it, you know? So a lot of that, like going back and unpacking, like what was I really, you know, trying to do with my craft, you know, what was God teaching me through this? And so going back and unpacking that, you know, I just feel like I have a responsibility to give that back somehow, you know, and I was given the vision, right? I called it by name and now I'm accountable to it, right? Which is kind of like one of the things that I did, recently, which is super simple. You probably do things like this. Is just like a little exercise of finding your community. And what I got to too is like, man, name it. You know, like you really become accountable to something when you name it, you know, and at least I have. So the things I was trying to build that I called by name, you know, have been those accountability points for me. And yeah, to answer your question though, it's really through my struggle, right, and unpacking and figuring out, you know, what process I was in, and any way that I can help and encourage someone else, you know, to identify and be aware of that is really where that comes from. Why I truly go back to that. Yeah, you know, and pouring in, man. It's like I feel like I'm a generational curse breaker in my family. So, you know, the whole point is to then go back, you know, and equip, like, dude, like, you know, there's some things that I'm biting down on, that I'm struggling with, that like, hey, it's taking me longer to break this, but I need to tap my brother in as quick as I can. I need to talk to little bro, little sis. I need to, you know what I mean? I'm like, hey, look, you know, I may not be able to break this. I may need your help. Like, we need to be transparent. What are we struggling with? You know, so it's just that, bro. You know, it's been biting down on that. That takes me back to it. Yeah. You know, that always brings me back to, like, you know, pouring back into the youth too, you know?
So about saving time, what's the one kind of piece of advice when it comes to their brand, especially as, you know, these young artists are starting to make appearances on social media, maybe owned by parent accounts and stuff like that. I've been seeing some cross collaboration of parents collabing with their kids' account, you know what I mean? And like, I believe his name is Rondo, has like 100,000 followers now and stuff like that. Yeah. And they create all these universal tracks that are just amazing, really, you know what I mean? But coming from a 7th grader, you know, coming from an 8th grader. What's that one piece of advice that you think about when it comes to their brand as they start to venture into social media and make a presence for their brand?
So what comes to mind is something that resonates with me completely, and it simplifies everything. And it's Gary Vee's statement of brand is just a fancy word for reputation, right? So personal brand is still just your personal reputation. So when it comes to your brand, the main thing is just so much of personal development for me, because when it comes, like I was just talking to you about that, right? Something that's been top of mind for me is returning to the fundamentals, right? Returning to the why, and it's hard to speak to what you're saying too, because even someone so young like that, like that's part of why, you know, taking the time with the process and getting the reps. I would love to talk to those parents, right? I would love to talk to the parents and be like, you know, hey, what's your thoughts? What's your thoughts on this? You know, and when you're developing, when you're helping young people develop and find out who they are, and you know, what are we doing to do that, right? Like, is their mission statement on their wall as a human being? You know, are they repeating this day by day so that then transfers into the music, right? Because that happened to me, where I was like, once I started caring, I'm being intentional about my personal development, my music started to change, right? So like, that would be at the core most important for me, right? When it comes to your brand, it would be like, well, who are you as a human being, right? What drives you? And practicing that, and then laying the foundations of, like, I kind of just spoke on this, man, the craft. You can't get away from the craft. You cannot cheat reps. You need the reps. And the first thing for a young artist, I don't care how old you are, if you don't have a home studio, I don't take you serious. If you don't have a home system to lay down your tracks whenever you want to, I stop listening to you. You know what I'm saying? Because for me, the first moment that I could not record a song and express myself, I love this craft so much, I was like doing all the research that I could to figure out the process in which how I need to do so. You know, the first time I knocked on the homie's door and he didn't answer and he couldn't let me in to go record and finish my track. Oh yeah, it's a wrap. I'm done.
Yeah.
You know, 12 years old, 11, 12 years old. I'm like, all right, I got to figure this out. You know, headset mic from Walmart. All right, Audacity program. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you're aging yourself right now.
Big time. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that to me, you know, reps. How are we laying the foundation with the reps? We ain't cheating. So that's first and foremost. Before we start getting to the content, you know, the content could look this and that. We got to get down to that layer, you know, underneath. You know, how are we putting in the work? Who are we? How are we putting in the work every single day? And then we can systemize the content. The content's the easy part. Once you got that down, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it ain't super easy. Sometimes you got to get out your head and on how you want to create, you know, the vision you have to what you want it to look like. You know, there's certain aspects to it, but yeah, that if that answers your question, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
that's
100%.
Kind of where I'm at with it.
Yeah, and one thing that really stood out to me, but there's two things, but one is reps, putting in the reps, making sure that you get yourself equipped with the right quality of equipment that you want to present your brand with, right, is one aspect of it. Like, not just from a visual perspective, like people, you know, there's these kids that are just shooting on some really nice, you know, cameras and stuff like that because their parents can get it for them, and stuff like that. But when it comes to the way that you just present yourself, you know what I mean? Like from a lyrical perspective, from a visual perspective, from an audio perspective, like getting something that matches what you envision bringing to this world, if you have the accessibilities for it, you know what I'm saying? And that's one reason why we created like the lab in the first place, was we wanted to create the resources accessible to these people, right? So even as we start to venture into like the Epicentre, like I don't want to deny the resource and the access to these young folks of the quality that I think they deserve. You know what I'm saying? As they start to pour into their gifts, you know? But it really starts with just getting started at the end of the day. Like you can just pick up your phone and just start getting the reps in, right? So there's the volume side of it. And then you go invest into the quality of it by partnering with said Frank or partnering with the MK Lab or partnering with the Epicentre, you know? And like, there's always levels to it. You don't need to go to a studio. I'm speaking really to the music artists right now. You don't need to go to a studio. To Frank's point, go pick something up off of Walmart. You know what I'm saying?
You don't even have to do that right now.
And you don't.
I mean, you know, my cousin, he was not, I think it's Band Lab. So like I've seen these things, and even like you told me you made a beat on Suno or whatever. And like I haven't even experimented in that yet. You know what I mean? So it's like more than ever, even just that, like I understand you can just do it, but also it's like non-negotiable going to the gym every day, right? Like, so especially if you put a home gym in your house, the likelihood of you missing that, you know, is lower based on you being in position, right? So I think Jamal King talks about that. You know what I mean? He said, you know, hey, I these are the things that I needed, so I put it in my house, right? So it's like having that same sort of mentality, and obviously there's levels to it. He put a whole like hospital facility in his house
got
for
his tennis court and all this stuff.
He on a different level, and that's where it. But you got to put yourself around that to then, you know, to hear that, to be like, okay, oh yeah, that's in alignment with where we're trying to go, right? So, but yeah, that is huge. Not relying on a, you know, especially now, bro, you can't rely on a, you know, top tier recording studio to just get your ideas off or to doing that. Like right now, it's an and thing, you know, it's the practical and, you know, being able to do this and being able to get in the environment of people. Okay, this person's done this before. That's when it really goes to new levels, right? Because it's like, okay, cool, you have enough reps to understand to this, and then now you get around people that have been doing it, that have experience, that can pour into you. You know, when you get around this environment, this isn't just for the cameras, this isn't just for you're getting around people that have been places that you're trying to go potentially. You're getting around energy that's going to take you further, right? So like that's a part that I missed out on in that. So if there's any balance there, it's like, hey, once you can invest in yourself, you know, do that because you're investing in relationships. You know, my first time I had to get dragged to a professional studio, bro. Like, and the first person I recorded with is Loose Lyric in his studio. It's I don't know if you ever heard of Loose Lyric, but man, kudos to the consistency, bro. It's still just been doing it since I've recorded there, and that was back in I don't even know, bro, maybe 2015, 2014, right? That I went over there. The homie told me, he was just like, hey, like, bro, because they used to record at my house all the time, right? And it was cool, but it was like, oh, you know, we need that top, you know, tier recording or whatever. So they had been over there. I wrote a verse, and then they were like, we'll take care of everything, bro. Just pull up. Like, I need you to get over there. Like, I want you to experience that. And at first I was like, bro, I don't need to go nowhere. I'm right here. I'm at home. You know what I'm saying? And then so I ended up doing it, bro. And but even that relationship, like I was so tunnel vision at that time. I remember there was like kind of a funny, I didn't mean nothing by it. Like, I don't even know, like he tried to give me a business card and I was like, oh no, I'm good. Like, but I didn't even mean it in no way. Like I was like, oh nah, yeah, okay, I'll take it. Like it was like, you know, and everybody kind of laughed because they were like, wait, hold on, bro. Like, you know, but it was just the disconnect, like not understanding that it's deeper. You feel me? Like also relationships, you know, it's not just here, like cool, like at that point, you know, I act like you've been there before. That's the type of like mentality I had. So I wasn't, you know, I was, it was a good vibe. It was a good feeling, but it was like, oh, that act like you've been there before. But relationships, right? So that's even what I would have told myself then. You know what I mean? Hey, bro, like I understand to act like you've been there before, and you know, we ain't getting shiny objects syndrome or nothing like that. But at the same time, bro, this is a relationship, right? This is someone that has the reps, like even a Loose Lyric, right? I didn't build on that relationship, you know. He was like, hey bro, that was a cool verse, boom boom, you know. I never built on that relationship. I didn't keep like, hey brother, like what have you learned in this game? I wasn't doing that, right? And that's another reason. Yeah, as I unpack all this, I start realizing, oh, okay, man, I can give that back. Let me give that back. Let me implement that into the system that we got going. Yeah, now when it's right here, hey, it's standard. You need to ask 3 questions. You know what I'm saying? You need to ask 3 questions. You need to, whatever things that I'm feeling convicted on, I put that in the system. You know what I mean?
That's good, man. Yeah, that's something that, you know, I talked about, I think on the last episode, was when it comes to your network, you know, like your network is only your net worth when you actually do something about it, right? Because you can know Elon Musk, right? You could know Gary Vee, right? You could know his cousin or something like that. And he could get you a lunch. He could get you an invite, you know, and they show up. But if you don't show up, right, and you don't actually put the work in to go and pick their brain and know who they are, develop the relationship, cultivate that, right, what are you actually doing with it, right? Like all of the resources are abundantly available to you, like regardless of names and stuff like that. Like every single resource, like God has placed at your disposal for you to go and get. If it's in alignment with the thing that you need to do, just go and do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And a lot of people don't do that. You know, they don't show up. That's one of the questions that you brought up last time. Like, you need to show up, you know, for it. Yeah. Like, it's there. Yeah. Like, when God placed us in the garden, you know what I'm saying? Like, he had provided every single need. Every single need that we ever would need, you know? And that's still, that same thing applies today. Yeah. Like we still have every single resource, every single person, every single asset to go and tap into if we so need to and so desire. And that's the thing, that if God desires for you to do it in this time, in this season, that's when the alignment happens and that's when it starts coming.
For sure. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And that's even what you just said with the abundant mentality, right? Like that was a personal development part that I didn't get till later in my journey, right? And if I would have had those sorts of principles front of mind, top of mind, you know, things I was listening to, you know, and just that would have potentially changed some of the decisions I was making. You know, maybe I would have made better decisions, better intentional decisions, you know. So that's why I think that's such an important component, you know what I mean? And I went through even that, like, when we're talking about brands or personal brands, right? One exercise that I went through with Carmen this last week, which was pretty awesome to see her, because she was actually answering the question from her please and plan angle, right? And it was just cool because I was like, and it was so simple, bro, but it was just like finding your community, right? Build the experience first, right? Of the ideal, you know, and it was as step by step, if you don't mind me going by it.
No, go ahead.
Yeah. So it's almost just like step one, identify who you're serving, right? Who are they? What are they trying to build? And what do they need? You know, so like I even asked her, I'm like, okay, who are they? You know, and she answered the question, and she was able to answer, you know, each one just very specific, very just like simple, you know, and it's just such a simple, practical way, right? So like even that, if I'm talking to somebody, and that was step one, I'm gonna get back to it, but like, even if you're just struggling, okay, do I need to start posting? Do I need to start doing this? And just like, where do I start? I'd like this part, right? I was like, well, start with, because even where the lead is, it's like, and you're super systematic in that way, where, you know, you have the page, join this, join the community, right? So building that out first, I think because that's damn near the bottom too. Or like, where is that at the funnel? Join the community.
Oh, that's at the end.
That's
actually.
right.
Yeah.
So
yeah, bottom of funnel.
Right. So that's why I was like, well, work from there rather than top to bottom, right? Work from bottom to top. So that's where I went. So step one was that. Step two, create the gathering, right? If these people come together once a month, what would happen? A workshop, a meetup, a live stream, mastermind. Even as I was doing this, I'm like, this is Christian all the way. Like, you know what I mean? Like this is Christian. This is kind of what he tells me. Step three, give it a name, right? A name creates identity. A name creates accountability. A name creates standards. A name makes it real, right? So even if this was specifically for artists, you know, I think it's good for young artists to kind of go through these steps. Step four, create a mission. Why does this exist? What problem does it solve? What does it stand for? What should people expect every time they show up, right? Step five, show up consistently. Don't focus on growth first. Focus on serving the people who are already there. Identity before audience, right? So like, I feel like, especially right now, as whether you're personal brand, music artist or whatever, it's all about community and serving your community. And, you know, and working on that first was something that was just like super clear to me, you know, where I'm like, okay, this is key, you know?
Yeah, 100%, bro. And that's really like, when you break down Maker as an acronym, right? It's that you are a messenger on a mission. That's M, right? You're a messenger on a mission. So that's where you identify who is it that you want to serve. What is the problem that you have the solution to, right? What is that message, that burning conviction in your heart that you need to be doing and amplifying for someone else to be served through, right? Like, that's what that M is, right? And then, to your point, is then you find your audience. Where are your, what they call ICPs, right? Your individual customer profiles. That's specific to them, right? Like a founder that is making $50,000 a month, that is living in San Diego, that is, you know, playing pickleball over here, right? Then you start breaking down your psychodemographics. Like, that's one segment of your audience, right? And that's how you break it down into finding who identifies as a maker. Who are you going to identify as a maker in your community, right? What knowledgeable assets do they have to bring back to the community that's going to benefit the rest of the tribe?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's really what it is. Then you give them that exposure. Hopping on the podcast. Let's join this building side by side. Let's join this makers report, Mercairos report. Let's, what is it that you need to expose? What are the platforms and media platforms that you're going to expose that on? And then you create the revenue generating opportunities for them to go and do that. Partnering them with, say, companies that are coming in and stuff like that, or other sponsorship opportunities.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's how we really break it down, or that's how I really break it down, from the top down and the bottom up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is when I call it a map, right? What is your mission? What is the assignment? What is the purpose? That's your map. You know what I'm saying? That gives context to everything that you're going to, guide your people through, right?
Yeah.
On their hero's journey.
Yeah.
Because you are just the guide.
Yeah.
They're the hero.
Right.
You're not the hero in it. You're just guiding them. You know what I'm saying? You're guiding them to where? Through their map, whatever that map is, their mission, assignment, their purpose. You know what I'm saying? And that's why I like to like really break it down into acronyms to make it like really digestible for people. You know what I'm saying?
No, for sure. No, I hadn't heard that one from you yet.
Yeah.
Mission, assignment,
and purpose.
Yeah.
That's your map.
And so when you say your goal, it's making me think of like, what would one expect from like a discovery session with Christian? You know what I mean? Or with MK media.
Yeah, it would be parts of those questions.
Okay.
Again, learning who is it that you serve? What is it that you do? What problem do you have the solution to? What expertise do you have? Right? Because we're working with business owners predominantly, right? And brands, right? So what do you want to be known for, right? Brand, reputation, association is also what I would classify as branding, right? What association do you want to have? And so, yeah, those are some of the questions that, I'd probably dig through with a potential client.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And then even speaking about that, bro, like on the branding side, you brought up this collaboration.
Yes.
With Dad Gang and Gary Vee.
Shout out Dad Gang.
Yeah.
Shout out Dad Gang. Bart, thank you for pulling up to the MK 1.0. We're here in 2.0 right now. Congratulations to you and to EJ and to just the entire Dad Gang community. Huge win by getting Gary Vee to be the fourth partner of Dad Gang for, I believe, strategic partnerships. And and so it's a crazy opportunity for them, man, because they were already performing extremely well in terms of sales, in terms of the community that they built over the past several years. But to pick up a partner like Gary Vee, which is probably one of the greatest marketers that we have right now, and heads of brand, personal brand. He's been spewing it out for 2 decades now.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now he's a part of the team, so I'm really excited to see like the heights that they go to from their 8-figure company, hopefully into, 9 figures and up.
Yeah. What's your thoughts on making that sort of move? Strategically, like business strategy wise, say there was someone in another certain position where they're like, man, like how does that even work? Should we bring on or should we partner with a personal brand like Gary Vee ourselves? Like what's your business angle on that?
Yeah. I think you have to be able to humbly accept. And I say humbly because you have to recognize that you aren't the best at what you do. There's people that are, again, so far gifted in what they do, right? That you have to come beneath yourself and then accept their help, right? If you want to rise up, like you got to rise up as a team. Like you're going to need your quarterback, your running back, your receivers, your O-line, right? You're going to need everybody working as a complete function together to bring it to whatever that real vision is. If that vision is the Super Bowl, right? If the vision is X, right? You have to be able to work together and piece together the functions of the team, right? That's what a real business is, you know? You create a function of the business, and then you run processes through those functions to bring you through the finish line or the starting point even, right? Of what that next chapter is for the business. Yeah. You know, and that's kind of what I see them do, because they brought Gary in as a strategic partner, right? So what of Gary's brain is so strategically developed ahead of where they have been able to take their company on their own? That's what you bring in an equity partner for, you know? And I think,
and the platform itself, obviously,
and that's a big part, right? Like Gary, this is the interesting thing for me, is that Gary doesn't even talk about his kids, right? He is a dad.
That is interesting.
You know? Yeah. But people know that he is a great dad because he calls out parents all the time, right? So when you talk about audience, right? Like I don't even have to, as a personal brand, he developed it so far that he doesn't even need to show up and show his kids on his personal brand, but he has so much like backdrop and backstory to calling out parents on how to become better parents, especially in this age of social media, and building their brands for their kids, and all of those things, setting legacy for their kids.
He speaks about how he was parented.
That too.
A lot.
Well, he does both. He does both.
Okay.
He talks about the way that he was parented, and he also talks about what parents should do. You know?
Because sometimes I hear him stay away from that. Like, I'm not going to tell parents what to do because it's such a thing right there. But I mean, as much as he speaks to, he's like speaking to it without speaking to it a lot. Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
And no, it is very interesting because he says he's the most publicly private person on earth. Right. That's something that he does say. He made that decision, right, a while back. And this could be a different time in his journey where he's using this opportunity. He sat with it and said, you know what? I'm going to lean into this pillar. I'm going to lean into this dad pillar. I'm going to see where it goes. You know, does that strategic partnership, you know, come with a series on, you know, dad stuff, you know, from him? Does it come with any, you know, I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs of what that agreement could even look like. But yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. I mean, all throughout his page, when you go through like the VCon and all those type of events with Gary V Friends, those are all targeting parents and parents with children, obviously, right? That's what a parent is. And so he has tons of content and tons of audience geared towards those people that maybe they haven't reached as Dad Gang. They haven't reached on their own. You know what I mean? Yep. So being able to leverage that, and that's what brings me back around to the importance of personal brand, is that they didn't partner with VaynerMedia, right? They partnered with Gary Vee. You know what I'm saying? Because Gary Vee is what has the exposure to those parent groups. Yeah. Through said
personal connection as well.
Yes. Yeah. The personal connection.
Human.
Exactly. To these parent groups, because you'll see him guiding these parents in some of the clips that he puts together from said VCon or something like that, or even talking to the kids. Yeah. You know, directly. And so it's interesting to me, like that is the power of the personal brand. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And it even just it makes me think of how intentional Gary Vee is too, because when you bring up V Friends, it's like, oh yeah, of course, lean into a partnership right now with that, because, you know, you're having kids talk about this whole world of characters that have to do with principles and values, empathy, this, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like, I think that just shows how important it is to definitely align your partnerships as well, right? As if you have built a personal brand, hey, taking the time to sit with it, to understand who people are, to have those conversations, and think about how we can integrate authentically. That's been on my mind a lot too, helping other helping people kind of connect brand wise, or just like personal brands connect with business brands, and just knowing I'm like, hey, if we take some time with this, we can really find a way more authentic approach. And I think that is something that I'm gonna be wanting to get into deeper and further. I think I see myself like just connecting the dots with strategic partnerships too, going in that direction a lot more.
Yeah.
Because, I'm also like storytelling is big for me, right? So it's like you really go in here and you see, okay, what's the story here? What's the story here? How can this story intersect? And that's really what we're talking about. Okay, the Gary Vee story, the dad gang story, and they found an intersecting point that makes sense for them. You know what I'm saying? That to me is like, that's authentic partnerships in this space. You know, that I feel like if you have the opportunity to do that, do it.
It's interesting, bro, because when Dad Gang came to film at the Studio 1.0 last year, it was for TwitchCon. They all came in to the studio because they were able to get that time specifically for TwitchCon, and then they filmed at the studio for like hours on hours, and they brought up Gary Vee, and it's just wild to me that in that short time frame of talking about how it would be really cool to partner with Gary Vee and to have him this and that, then like a year later, like boom, he's an actual partner.
Yes, sir.
Of Dad Gang. And so like that's just like really exciting, like how much things can really transition, in 1 year.
For sure.
You know what I mean? In a 1 year span, bro, like we closed down the restaurant, we found this spot, we built this out.
Yeah.
Now we're here, doing this. Like you are in a season right now. I'm speaking to that person. Like you may be going through a valley in your season right now. You know what I'm saying? But like literally you are just one post, one reel, one connection away from this, from Gary Vee becoming your partner, from the MK Lab being your partner, being your studio home. Like you are one connection away from that. And back to your point of timing, like time is one of your greatest, if not the most important asset that you have. And so when it comes to strategic partnerships and getting in the room with other people, that's what you're buying your time for. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like these people, like I said, they may have way more experience than you. And so they're able to come from a place of expertise to be able to pour that into you, that have already been there. Like I've already seen the 6 figures in 1 day mark. What does that look like to get to 6 figures in 1 day? Here's what it looks like, here's what it looks like to do 7 figures in a year. Here's what it looks like to do 8 figures in a year. Or to Dad Gang's point, like here's VaynerMedia and all of the other entities that Gary's brought up, right? He's a serial entrepreneur, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which I appreciate the most about him, that he doesn't stay fixed to just one thing, but he invests and sow seeds into all of the different gifts and the different passions that he has.
Yeah.
What it looks like to get to that 9-figure mark and beyond, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's something that I appreciate, especially as a coach, right? Like that's the reason why I like to coach people, why I like to advise people, why I like to consult people, is because I'm here to help you get from point A to point B in the shortest amount of time based off of my experience that I have.
Yeah. And I'll piggyback on that with how fast, right, these things can happen.
Mm-hmm.
Growing pains are real. And that's just me speaking from experience. There are things that happen in that growth. And I feel like those tests come from God to make sure that you destroyed these old things about yourself. Whether these old ways of thinking, whatever it may be, that is the growing pains. And the faster you grow, I would say, man, the more less opportunity for you to slip on those. You know what I mean? And so just speaking from my point of view on taking that, because I received that, bro. I'm just like, I really received where you're going with that, and it's making me think about my lessons and just like these growing pains, you know. And it's just like it takes one decision to entertain an old way of thinking, to entertain old ways of being that can add time onto this mission, to your assignment. You know what I mean? Like it's a small window. You know what I mean? We're not here for a long time. So, man, bro, I appreciate you saying that, leaning into that. You know what I mean? And you know, getting that message, and I'm glad to be, you know, having these conversations with you, bro. And we're gonna continue to build, man. Continue to build. And
I want to throw in one more thing with that, man. Is like, you can't thwart God's time. So there's gonna be two spectrums right here, right? God exists outside of time, and so his timing is perfect because it's gonna happen when he desires it to happen. You know, so you think about Joseph having to go and become a prisoner before becoming a king. That's one aspect, and that's something that was predestined. That was like before Joseph was formed in his mother's womb. Like, that's what God had in mind for Joseph, right? Then you have your time, you know, and your time is the Israelites' time, coming out of Egypt, going through the Exodus. And the journey could take 11 days, but it took them 40 years. The actual physical time it takes to walk was estimated to be 11 days. It took 40 years because you are trying to outpace God's time. Like, sometimes you need to just go through your season, you know, and like enjoy it. Rejoice always. You know what I'm saying? Rejoice in it, because like you in you trying to like outpace God and trying to outpace the timing of it, it might take you that 40 years, you know, of hard, you know, toil, turmoil, struggle. You don't need to struggle in the way that it's painful to struggle. You can struggle. Like, God says to rejoice in your struggle. Your struggle is real. You know, the trial is real, you know, but rejoice through that struggle because you can carry the joy of the Lord when you're on this side of the fence.
For sure.
And you have to remember, you have to stay on this side of the fence. Don't dabble on this fence. Because, and Pastor Mingo actually just brought this up this past week, was that who owns this fence? The enemy owns this fence. The enemy owns that fence, because one day when it all comes crashing down, and then you're like right in front of God on Judgment Day, and you're like, God, but you know, I was on the fence. I was here. I had my foot on this side, and I had my foot over here, you know, doing my desires over here. Yeah, but you weren't with me. You need to be on this side of the fence. Stop entertaining all of that old stuff.
That property line.
That property line is real, man. You know?
That property
line is real, bro.
You know what I'm saying?
But yeah, man, I appreciate you. Appreciate our time together always.
Episode 4.
Episode 4 wrapped up. I'm Christian.
Frank. Building side by side.
We out
next week.
Peace.
Hell yeah.